All right. Oh, goodness. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicole Johnson. I'm the program coordinator with Buckeye Wellness out of the Office of the Chief Wellness Officer. And welcome to our December Lunch and Learn, the last one for the year, which is absolutely crazy to say. A couple of upcoming events, I'll send them out to everyone, so you'll have the slides and the links and everything. On January 24th, we have our next Buckeye Wellness Innovator Orientation over at the Fawcett Center. If you aren't familiar with what that program is or what a BWI does, they are essentially wellness champions for your department. You bring wellness to your department. You go through a little orientation and a training. You learn about all the different wellness departments on campus, resources you can utilize, different things like that. So if you are very passionate about wellness and want to help your team, it's a great program to join. If you have any questions, I'll obviously be around after the presentation. You can ask. Our speaker today is actually a Buckeye Wellness Innovator. So if you had any questions, you could talk to her because she is in the program. Our next Lunch and Learn will be on January 27th. We will be in the same room in BRT 115. There will also be the Zoom option, as always, for those who need to attend virtually. And then for 2023, I guess as a heads up to anyone, our location will either be in BRT or we will be over at the Ross. It'll be different each month. So when you do register, if you are coming in person, make sure you pay attention to the building and are in the right location. And then the last thing I'll mention is we have wonderful fitness classes going on. The last one is today for the year. We give our instructors a little bit of a holiday break and winter break. So they'll be starting up the first week in January. We have classes Monday through Friday, some are in the morning. We have afternoon, lunchtime classes, and then evening classes. So hopefully one of those fits your schedule and you're able to join because they are wonderful. Our instructors are great. Now, during the presentation, as always, at the end, we'll have time for Q&A then. If you're online, you can put your questions in the chat box. I'll be monitoring that as we're going. And I will now introduce our speaker for today. We have Shannon Carter, who is an educator with Ohio State University Extension, serving in Fairfield County. She's passionate about helping others live smart by using research-based information to better their lives, families, and communities. As an extension educator, Shannon enjoys teaching others about health and wellness, mindfulness, and financial literacy. As a Buckeye Wellness Innovator, Shannon is committed to helping her fellow Buckeyes implement health changes at work so that our university can be the healthiest one on the planet. So please welcome Shannon Carter.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And thank you to all of you for coming today and giving up your lunchtime and/or joining with a nice salad provided. And I loved the title of Wellness Champion and want to encourage that all of you can become wellness champions no matter your position, just by influencing those around you that you work with. So today we're talking about winter wellness, and we're going to be identifying the symptoms of what we call winter blues as well as seasonal affective disorder. And we're also going to learn some strategies to be well in winter. That's what we want to focus on. And then at the end, we'll talk about setting a SMART goal, something that you can implement for winter wellness. So by quick show of hands, for those of you in the room, how many of you love winter? You get excited about the snow, lots of things to do. How many of you despise winter? It's cold. I don't like the cold. I don't want to go out. How many of you are like maybe kind of in the middle? Okay, so we have the full range here with us in the room, as I'm sure we do via live stream. And I love that because those of you who love the snow and the winter and all that it brings can bring along those who hate the snow and do it together. So I love that. I want a little bit of your help. We're going to create a quick word cloud. So if it's handy for you to pull out your cell phone and get that QR code, it asks that simple question of how does winter make you feel? And this is one way that those online, as well as those in the room, can participate all together. It gives you a chance to enter 2 words. And I think you can even do a phrase in that blank if you want. So again, how does winter make you feel? And I'm imagining we'll have the whole range of responses, just like we did with those who who love winter and those who don't. Okay, and there is a way to pull up this word cloud if I get us over to the right section. I needed Cody already. I can't click on it, Cody. Isn't this Christmas sweater great? This is awesome. Love it, love it. Okay, now you'll be back if I can't get it back, right? Okay. So let's see what we have coming up here. So yeah, the words that are entered more than once or numerous times are going to be a little bit bigger. So you can see what maybe is more of a common theme for folks. So we have all kinds of things here. We have depressed, cold, grumpy, blah. Yeah, that's a good descriptor. We have sleepy, cozy, shivery, happy, exciting, or existing as a chore, not exciting. Nostalgic, invigorated. I can't read sideways. I think that says frumpy on the side. So you might see yourself up here in one of those words, and kind of interesting that yes, winter does mean multiple things to multiple people. And we're back. So if you're one of those that feels kind of blah, kind of tired and sluggish during winter, there are reasons for that, and there are scientific reasons for that. Obviously, the colder temperatures, and some people just flat out don't like the cold. But there's also that phenomenon of shorter days and fewer daylight hours. And that actually changes two of our brain chemicals. It decreases the amount of the neurotransmitter serotonin, which is one of those brain chemicals, maybe a happy chemical if we want to simplify it. And then it also increases the amount of melatonin that we produce, and that's sleep producing. So we have those two phenomenon that can actually impact people quite a bit. And then that can actually change your brain chemistry for those winter months. Now, it affects people differently, and it can be anything from a range of just some blah feelings of winter blues to the more severe seasonal affective disorder. And we'll touch on those just so if you see yourself in here, you might know that some of these things resonate with you and you're not alone. So symptoms of the more mild winter blues might be just feeling sluggish, sleepy, increased or decreased appetite. It can go either way. Depressed mood, and feeling a little less social. Maybe you just want to hibernate a little bit. So those are just some examples of winter blues symptoms. For the seasonal affective disorder, this is actually a type of clinical depression that's related to the change in seasons. It usually starts about the same time and stops about the same time for folks every year. And usually it starts in the fall and then continues through the winter months. But I have a colleague that it starts at the end of summer. Like as soon as the days start to get shorter, she notices that. So for her, those sad symptoms start a little bit sooner. It affects about 6% of Americans each year. But what's interesting is that you might note that those who are in the further away from the equator that we live, the more it impacts us. So for example, those who live in Florida, there's only about 1% of Floridians that are affected with SAD compared to 9% of those who live in New England or Alaska. So you can see it ranges, varies greatly even within the United States. So where we live and how much sun and daylight hours we get definitely impact SAD. It also can be affected based on gender. So females are diagnosed with SAD 4 times more than men are. And we could dive a little deeper and say, is that because females are going to the doctor more? That could be part of it. But they're also looking at some of those brain chemical changes. Also being younger. Surprisingly, it affects younger adults more than older adults. and has even been shown to show up in children and teens. So those are just some of the things that can affect how seasonal affective disorder might look. And some of the symptoms of SAD, again, they're winter blahs, but they're a little more severe. So we have changes in appetite, which actually is enough to change your weight, and that could be increase or decrease. Changes in your sleep patterns. So not just feeling sluggish, but finding it hard to find that regular sleep pattern. Hard to concentrate, less energy, irritable, a little grouchy. I think someone put grumpy. So they may notice that. Social withdrawal. And then this is, again, the part of the depression, the sadness, anxiety, depression. And if you find yourself thinking, why do I feel this way? Again, there's chemistry going on in our brain, and there's a reason for that. Now, the causes of SAD are unknown, but they're starting to link it to, again, those two neurotransmitters that people with SAD have trouble regulating, one of the key neurotransmitters of serotonin. And some people with SAD may overproduce the hormone melatonin. So again, something to look at. They also said that people with SAD may produce less vitamin D. That, again, we know vitamin D is linked to daylight and sun exposure. So things to keep in mind. Well, the good news is we don't have to stay there in the blahs or in the SAD, that there are some strategies that we can do to impact that. And we can take good care of our mind and body, lift our mood, even in the winter. And so thinking of winter, rather than a time when, things from the fall are dying and going to sleep, think of it instead as a time for reflection, a time of recovery and preparation, because that's what nature is doing. It's not just ceasing to exist, it's resting, recovering, preparing for that spring. So one of the things that I want to encourage everyone to do is take time to be still. Sometimes the rush and the busyness, even of the holiday season that a lot of people experience in the months of November and December, sometimes we just need that time to be still and learn to keep calm. And so we talked about a couple brain neurotransmitters. Another one we'll throw out is oxytocin, and that's a feel-good chemical that's released in our body when we experience things like physical touch. So a 6-second hug with someone else can help release that oxytocin. So I have a teenage son, and every once in a while I'm like, bring it in, 6 seconds, you're stuck here, buddy. So I make him hug me. But if you don't have anyone nearby to hug, pets, how many of you have pets, right? They can be great to help with that as well. You can also just take your own hands and cup your face, and just that 6 seconds. Yeah, even if you want to warm your hands up, I saw someone doing that. That can just really help calm you down a little bit. So learning to keep calm, and that's good anytime, any year round. Being mindful in the moment. Sometimes we, again, just need to pause, take that moment just to be present instead of our minds racing ahead to whatever is next. And so being present, especially if it's a social time that you enjoy and you want to not miss those conversations with family or with others in your household, that you can just really be present in that moment. Any of you love to multitask? And I'm sure some of you are probably good at it. Well, sometimes that can be exhausting to do that all day long, day after day. And so give yourself the gift of doing one thing at a time, if possible. Sometimes in our jobs and our lives demand us to try to focus on multiple things. But really what our brain is doing is quickly shifting attention from one thing to the next. We're not really doing 5 things at once most of the time. So just give yourself that gift of one thing at a time. And then taking time away from technology. If you imagine yourself walking into a library and all of the books on the shelves are talking to you at the same time, that's kind of what we experience sometimes with all of the information we're trying to take in through our devices, the TV, the computer, the iPad, the phone. We've got them in our ear, we've got it in front of us. And sometimes I'll look around in the evening in my family, we've got the TV on, everyone's got a handheld device. So sometimes we just need to quiet that all, turn that off, give yourself a break from all that chatter because our brains are not prepared to handle the speed at which with all that information comes to us. So I want to share a quote from Lady Bird Johnson. She said, "When I no longer thrill to the first snow of the season, I'll know I'm growing old." Well, we may not want to grow old. So think about what that first snow was like for you, perhaps as a child. Did you ever get excited, especially for a snow day? You got maybe school canceled and got to go play in the snow. Well, if you can recall that wonder and excitement and kind of bring that with you, it might give you a fresh perspective on the beauty and the sparkle of the snow. That's one of my favorite things is I don't love being out in the snow. I will go out in the snow, but I love to look at it. I love how the sunlight hits it and the sparkles that happen. Another strategy is to create. Just the act of seeking a new experience can light up different parts of your brain that can help you kind of shift your perspective and see things in a whole new light. So stepping out and trying something new, it could be as adventuresome as cooking a new recipe that you've never cooked before, especially those of you who might feel like you kind of get stuck in the rut in the winter and kind of cooking the same thing. Try something different. Or if you like to go out to eat, try a new restaurant, just something new. Being creative, again, that lights up different parts of our brain. And it is very akin to mindfulness. That act of creating can get you kind of lost in the moment, almost like mindfulness and meditation. So whether it's coloring something intricate, or painting, or photography, or journaling, or whatever it is that you're doing to create, that can help almost be like a meditation where you're really in that moment. Engaging in a new hobby. Maybe some of you have different hobbies in the winter versus the summer. If you love to garden in the summer, maybe you are planting your garden in the winter, but is there a new hobby that you can do? Seeking something new. And then also just finding time and committing to a little bit of that. I think it's my next slide. It talks about practicing self-care, but that's part of investing in yourself. It's not selfish. It's part of what we need to be healthy and well. And then finally, writing notes of gratitude or kindness, again, akin to that mindfulness and meditation. So practicing self-care is something that we need to do year round, but can be especially important for those who maybe don't love the winter. And so one of those is to eat healthy and well-balanced meals because there's no substitute for good nutrition. Fueling your body with what it needs, even though the natural inclination for some in the winter is to crave those sugary, sweet, kind of refined sugars. Those might give you a quick energy, but they're not sustaining like the whole grain, the unsaturated fats, those things that'll give you the reserve energy that you need to continue your day. So balancing that out and kind of thinking it through that way. The other is to get enough sleep. Now, remember we said that the winter can sometimes make it hard for some people to sleep, and then some people maybe sleep like a lot more in the winter. They just have a change in their regular sleeping pattern. So the trick is to set yourself up for success. So, your bedroom should be cool, quiet, comfortable. Maybe you need a new pillow. Maybe it's time to get a new mattress because if you're just not sleeping well or comfortably, that could be a good investment. Also, setting yourself up for success by turning off all of the electronic devices an hour before bed, because the light from those devices can interfere with your own body's production of melatonin for that day. So again, melatonin helps produce good sleep. So just a couple things to help you with getting enough sleep. And then importantly, also is finding ways to relax. When we have high stress jobs, busy, demanding schedules, we need to find ways to decompress. So it could be as simple as that cup of coffee or tea, beginning or end of the day to get you kind of in the moment. It could be yoga, meditation, Tai Chi, some of the fitness classes that Nicole mentioned, but just ways that you can relax. And that's going to look different for everybody. And you might need to seek out some new resources in that mode. So to appreciate the beauty of a snowflake, it's necessary to stand out in the cold. And Aristotle gave us that quote, surprisingly enough. And so the next strategy is to get outside. So for those of you who don't like the cold, even if you do, make sure you bundle up, wear the right foot gear, especially if there's slippery sidewalks. But just taking walks, even just a 10-minute walk on your lunch. And by the way, those of you who are here and you wish to stand, please do. I always invite people to stand during my programs or pace around if you want to. But spending time in nature, it can be quite therapeutic. It's very mindful to just study nature, to study, whether it's birds or the way the grass or trees are blowing, even if they're sort of snow covered, and how all that works. And, we have a multitude of parks in the Central Ohio area that have wonderful hiking trails. And so, grab a buddy and go to one of those parks so that you can enjoy and take some of that in. There's plenty of outdoor activities. Again, some of those parks might be a nice place to do that, but tubing, skiing, if you're more adventuresome, ice skating, some of those things. So even setting and having an outdoor fire where you can invite friends, come over, and it doesn't have to be just summer or fall for that. So you can bundle up around an outdoor fire even in the winter. And then the dark, cool, clear nights of winter can make the night sky a wonderful time to observe the stars, the moon. And there's different apps you can use even on your phone to point at the sky and figure out which constellation you're looking at. So those are kind of fun to check out. Any of you bird watchers in here? I have several friends who are avid bird watchers. And so invite them into your yard, get a simple bird feeder, maybe a heated water bath so they have fresh water available that doesn't freeze in the winter. And just watching them, we have a flower box at home right outside our kitchen window. So it has a flower box in it in the summer, but then my husband takes that out and fills it with birdseed all winter. And I love it because I can literally be, not even 2 feet from all kinds of birds. And if I, at the maybe sink doing dishes or whatever, I stop when they come and I just sit, because if they see me move, they'll fly away. But just watching all of them come, that is really fun. And I know a lot of people that have gotten into bird watching just through inviting them into their yard. And you can even make a study of the different types that come and the different songs and habits that they have. So I know earlier we said take time to be still. There's also time where we need to take time and get moving. And whether this is exercise, which is more of that intentional, on almost repetitious type of motion, or something specific that gets your heart rate up, those types of things that will get you moving, or even if it's physical activity, anything that gets you moving. So it could be housework or moving about your workplace or your home, anything to kind of keep your activity level up. So both of those have been shown to actually help make changes in your brain, again, that can boost your mood. And there's a lot of fascinating link between, physical wellness and your mental wellness, as we know. And then finding some fun, I think that can really help. And even if we're tempted to hibernate, finding some fun, whether maybe it's creating some fun with others around you. We've been talking recently how it would be nice to have a little more fun in our office. So what can we do to incorporate some of that? Whether it's a meal together every once in a while or some fun trivia game. So I have much more creative people that I work with than me. So I look forward to seeing what they come up with. There could be lots of opportunities this season, the holiday season, but beyond into the rest of our winter months for things like light shows or ice rinks. Again, outdoor activities like sledding. and lots of local places to look for some of those opportunities, whether it's parks or zoos, museums, nature centers. There's a lot of education. That can be a fun individual or family activity as well. And I love this quote. It says, if you choose not to find joy in the snow, you will have less joy in your life, but the same amount of snow. So I encourage you to choose joy. This is a picture of my daughter taking a picture of some snow-covered trees. And this was one of the first big snows we had last year, and she couldn't wait to get outside and shoot all these pictures. So I followed her around and took pictures of her. And yeah, she gets super excited. And she's also one that loves rainy days, even gray days. So I've let that help me a little bit, because I don't love I'd rather have a snowy day than a rainy day. I'm always thinking, ugh, it's raining again. It's gray. I want the sun. But she likes it. And I think for her, it's reflective and introspective. So I've learned to adopt that a little bit. So again, even though we might be tempted to hibernate in the winter, encourage you to socialize. So even this doesn't mean you have to get outdoors, but meeting a friend for coffee, anything. I have a friend that loves game nights, and she's, again, much more lively and competitive and fun with all those than I am. So if she organizes them, I'm happy to show up and play. And then a great way to socialize is to volunteer. And there's lots of opportunities for local charities and food banks and different ways that you can make a difference for others. And again, like we've shown with gratitude, anytime we're extending and reaching out to others, that can also boost our own moods. Play, we've talked about having fun, and laughter. 20 seconds of like intense laughter is better than 3 minutes of strenuous rowing. I think I'd rather do the laughter. So laughter is not only great exercise, it's a lot of fun. So we mentioned that the SAD, seasonal affective disorder, is a type of depression. And so if you find that your stress or depressive symptoms are hanging around more than a couple weeks, and it's especially maybe limiting your ability to function in what you're trying to do, would encourage you to talk to your doctor, seek some additional help. There might be some, simple therapies, vitamin D or a light box, but that's something that you can talk with your doctor about. And then Ohio State University, hopefully you all know this, but has a wonderful employee assistance program with lots of resources available. And so I would encourage you to check out their most recent updates to their webpage, because they've got a lot of exciting things on there. So I have a question. Now, I've thrown out lots of ideas, but just, what is your favorite thing to do in the winter? This could be something indoors. It could be something outdoors. But for those of you on live stream, feel free to put that in chat. And those of you in the room, if you just want to shout out, what are things that you love to do in the winter? Bake? Oh, yes. Lights. Okay. Hiking and reading. We had baking and zoo lights. Baking's a double bonus because then it's warm, right? You're warming up the kitchen in the house. Yeah, you can do a little movie marathon. We must be getting some good answers in chat. Thank you. Thanks for sharing those. So hopefully you've picked up maybe a tip or two, either from those that have shared some of their favorite activities, and would encourage you to maybe find one of those that you can do. I wanted to take a minute, it's literally 1 minute, and do a short meditation with you all. It looks like most of you are done with your lunch, so we should be able to do this. But this is done to a snow globe. And so you might have one at home that you could do, or you could Google a snow globe video meditation. I think I sent Nicole a link that she can send out later for you that you can watch if you just need a 1 minute kind of slow down. So we'll just kind of take a minute here and do this together. So I would encourage you to watch the snow globe as the snow kind of swirls, and you might think about your day. Maybe you've had a swirly kind of day already, and that some of the swirl is kind of the craziness in our lives. And as that starts to slow down, imagine some of your negative emotions and some of your stress kind of settling a little bit. And go ahead and breathe slowly and deeply. So a nice deep breath in through your nose. And then as you exhale, just watching that snow come to stillness. And continue those deep cleansing breaths as your mind begins to settle. And those snowflakes continue to rest on the ground. And then spending a mindful minute or two just to then think about some positive, serene feelings that you could draw from when you have those stressful moments. I really enjoy that one because it does even help me to kind of slow down. So we do want to encourage you to set a goal. So it's great to get some ideas and maybe come for an hour and hear some good tips. Maybe some of them are new, some of them are not. But this is where the difference can be made. And that's up to you to set some goals for yourself. And remember that small changes make the biggest wins, especially if you're one that really struggles in the winter months. You want to really start small. So we talk about SMART goals being something that's specific. So something you can clearly name, something that's measurable. So you'll know when you've achieved that goal. Something that's attainable, it's achievable within your reach. And it's relevant to you and it fits your needs. And then time bound, that maybe there's a specific target date, or maybe it's the frequency, like a walk outside once a week, something like that. And I would encourage you to write it down. Or if you are one that prefers maybe a cell phone reminder, go ahead and set a reminder for yourself, either daily or a week from now. Like, did you do a meditation, or did you try something new, or whatever is that goal might be for you, to set some of that aside. So to summarize, I mean, we kind of talked about a whole host of things, but the strategies, again, were taking time to be still after a rush of a busy holiday and fall, learning to create, or investing in your time, in your own time to create, getting outside in nature, get moving, and whether it's exercise, physical activity, connecting with others so that we don't hibernate, and then seeking help when it's needed. I'm going to leave you with this encouraging thought that winter will not last forever, even in Ohio, and spring is coming. So even though it may feel endless at times, so until then, I hope you can use some of these tips to help you to stay healthy and well this winter. At this time, I will open the floor to any questions. If you have more questions and you want to contact me via email, my address is carter.413@osu.edu. And I didn't go into detail with this at the start, but I work for Ohio State University. I'm part of the statewide network, statewide campus. And so I serve Fairfield County through the Ohio State University Extension. And we bring research-based information into the communities where we work. So I'm also a Buckeye Wellness Innovator, and it's a lot of fun with Nicole and her team getting some resources that we can share with the coworkers around us. And I also love the Wellness Innovators because it does not matter what your position is. We can always do something to help others out. But if you have questions about any of the resources that I mentioned, or you would like more of the research behind that, I'd be happy to share some of those links.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Shannon. There were a lot of great resources and strategies for us in there. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. like she said, we have time for questions. Before we start doing those, I just want to remind everyone to fill out the evaluation if you're here in person. If you're online, you'll get it in a Qualtrics link sent out afterwards. But if you could just take a couple minutes to fill it out, give us some feedback, let us know what topics you want to see for next year. We're starting to find speakers for all the different months. So if there's a particular topic you want to see, write it down and we'll do our best to try to get it in. So we had a question online. I'll go ahead and read real quick. They asked, do you have any specific tips for teens during the winter months?
Sure. And as we mentioned, we know SAD can affect children and teens. And I think in general, I think this is an issue for adults, but we see it a lot with our teenagers, how much they're on their devices because they've grown up with these, right? They've grown up with their thumb's attached to a phone. So I think anything we can do to get them to put the phone down. One thing that we did with our kids is family meal times. It's an exception to be on your phone, like if it's, I don't know, some important phone call, but phones really aren't at the table. We used to have a cube of questions that you pull out a card just to get a conversation going. So getting them engaged in family conversation, anything you can do to, so I don't know, a holiday or Christmas gift that's maybe an active something. Maybe it's what did my son get? He got a month to a gym that was kind of fun that he thought about doing that with some friends. So we know they're also social and liking to do things with their friends. But there's also in one of the links that Nicole will be sending out, it's on winter activities. There's a link within that page. It's a OSU blog page that will have a whole set for kids and teens.
That's great. I love the idea of having like a family meal time and then having the cube where you draw conversation topics. That's a really fun idea. Do we have anybody in person who has a question? Anything at all?
Thank you. As a Buckeye Wellness Innovator, do you have ideas for team building activities over the winter? It's much easier for me to think about summertime ones. We can go outside and take walks together, but winter related activities.
That is a great question. So I think one of the things I mentioned, and I've seen examples of this in other offices, and I've kind of taken a mental note, like I want to go back and do that in my office, where they might have a trivia board and someone writes up a question of the week, and then they might have just a way to submit those answers. I don't know if it's a box or sending an email, but I've also seen shout out boards where it's giving someone a thank you for doing that for me, or I really appreciate how you contribute to our team. And those are maybe not activities that you're doing together, but you kind of are. It's a way to communicate. I know we have the kudos and shout outs that we can do and showing online, but even if it's like a post-it note, or we have a dry erase board at our office. But I think with the Wellness Innovator speakers, like the resources, you can have speakers come in, and maybe that would be a time where, and then put that together with the healthy meals, bring people together. And Nicole, I'll toss that to you if you have additional ideas.
Yeah, those are all great. You could do similar to what you just were saying of bringing a speaker. You can bring them in person or via Zoom, and doing either having a lunch there or doing like a healthy potluck where everyone brings in something, or, it doesn't need to be healthy. If you want to have everyone bring in like a different type of cookie to try to have it like holiday themed, or even doing a like cookie decorating event. I've also seen some groups will do some volunteering during the holiday season. They'll all get together and go volunteer like a shelter, or like in their college department, they'll host maybe like a toy drive or like a coat drive, something like that. And then as a team working together to get everything and then transferring it, taking it to the location, some things like that are some ideas. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you could probably do that, because I know with the RPAC, they have instructors there. So you'd have to contact the RPAC to figure that out. We have the instructors that do the fitness classes that we put on. That could be something if you wanted to host one you could email anyone on our team and we could connect you to the instructors and then, connect with them about finding times, availabilities, and having them come in and do a class. We have had some that go to departments and do a class. All right. Any other questions? I don't see any online. I will keep it pulled up in case anybody has a question last minute. I'll leave it up. And then if anyone in here has a question, you can come and talk to Shannon right here. So thank you so much, Shannon, for being here. This was wonderful.
I want to again thank all of you for coming on your spending your lunch with me. So I appreciate it. And thank you for all that you do.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great holiday season. Happy New Year. And as always, go Buckeyes.